Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to a brand new video. If you're new here, my name is Nadine and I'm a registered midwife here working in the UK. So it's been a minute since I've actually sat down and filmed a midwifery related video. If you guys are old subscribers of mine, you guys would have seen that I recently got married, I bought a house, I moved in, I renovated, and I also brought a puppy, which you would hear her in the background. She's kind of playing, so if you guys hear any noise or ruckus, it's my dog in the background. But yeah, a lot has been going on. It's been stressful, chaotic, and I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, trying to get back into my routine of filming midwifery related content that you guys love and enjoy. So I recently asked you guys to send in your suggestions on what kind of video you guys would like to see me film, and you guys sent in your suggestions, and I'm here to deliver and basically answer all of your questions. So we're going to be talking about life after university, how my experience was like when I qualified, how it was like getting my NMC Pin, how long did I wait for, how much did I pay, and also how quick was it for me to get a job, how did I apply for a job, how did I decide on where to work, and things like that. I'll be answering all of your questions in today's video, so stay tuned as I'll be answering all of your questions here in today's video. But before I do, please make sure to hit the subscribe button if you are not subscribed already. Also hit the like button if you guys enjoy my content. But without further ado, let's get started with today's video, and let's talk about life after university, after completing your midwifery degree course and qualifying as a midwife. So before I get started, I just want to make sure that you guys are super comfortable. Grab yourself a drink, a hot beverage or a cold beverage, or a glass of wine or Prosecco, whatever the time may be that you're watching this video. Just make sure you guys are super comfortable. I don't intend for this video to be too long, but I've got a few questions that I would like to go through with you guys that you guys have sent in. So let's get started with the first question. So the first question that I tend to get a lot, that people constantly ask me, is, did you do anything in your third year to prepare for life after university? So my answer to this question is yes. My main preparations for life after university started when I was in my third year. So in my third year, I decided to start looking for where I wanted to work in terms of the hospital or the trust that I wanted to work in. So I started doing my research on the area that I wanted to work in. Did I want to work in the trust that I trained in for the past 3 years? Did I want it to stay there, or did I want to go somewhere new? So towards the end of my third year, I decided that I didn't want to stay where I trained. Although it was a good hospital, I learned a lot from that hospital, it was just too far away from me, and I decided to start looking at other hospitals that were close to home. So just to give you guys some perspective of the trust that I worked in and the distance. So from my house to placement for the past 3 years as a student midwife, it took me 2 hours to get to placement and 2 hours to get back. So I spent 4 hours of my day traveling to and from the trust that I was training at for 3 years. So once I qualified, I said I cannot be doing this anymore. I want to be at a hospital where I don't have to travel that much or that long of a distance for me to get into work. So that is the only reason why I decided not to stay at the trust that I trained in. So in my third year, I started looking for closer hospitals that were near my area, and I decided to leave the trust that I basically trained in and go somewhere new. So adding on to the question on how else did I prepare in my third year, is in my third year we had like a careers day or careers week where people came in and spoke to us about a career, where we wanted to do after we qualified, how we wanted to prepare for interviews, how we wanted to prepare for our CVs and things like that. So in my third year, I started preparing for interviews, and I started writing my CV. So that is a good thing, and I would highly recommend that in your third year, start preparing for job interviews. Start looking at what they expect from you when you go to an interview, what they expect from you in terms of your CV, what they need to see in your CV, how you need to structure your CV, and things like that. So in my third year, that's another thing that I was doing in terms of preparing for life after university. Okay, so the next question that I get often, that I get all the time, is how was it like getting your NMC pin after you qualified? So the NMC pin and getting your NMC pin and getting on that register is a whole nother experience, a whole nother topic, but I'm going to try and explain it in short terms for you guys. So after you finish your placement, you've gathered up your hours, you've got all your competency signs, you've got all your 40 births, you basically submit all of your paperwork to your university, and they basically check everything and make sure everything adds up and everything is correct, and you have your hours and your births. The university also gathers up your assignments, the grades you got, your exam results, everything. They collect everything and put everything in one folder, and they basically give you an overall grade for the 3 years that you were studying to become a midwife. After they give you a grade and they've collated everything, they submit everything to the exam board, and then they send an email to the NMC board that you have completed your qualification, you have completed everything that you need in order for you to start applying to become on the register. After they submit everything, you will then receive an email from the NMC. So what happened to me is I submitted everything and I waited for the NMC to send me an email. They sent me an email saying I can now apply to become on the register, to be, to have my NMC pin. So what I then do is I applied through the link that they sent me in the email. I basically had to fill in all my details, my date of birth, my name, my address, phone number, and then they ask you other questions such as your convictions. Do you have any cautions? Do you have any police convictions and things like that? Basically, they want to know everything about, if you're suitable for work. They ask if you have any, reasons why you can't be on the register, or any reasons why you can't be a midwife, and you basically have to answer all of these questions fairly and correctly before they can submit your application and give you the NMC pin. So once I did all of that, I answered all the questions and I submitted my application, and I had to then pay for my NMC pin. I submitted my application, and then it just basically told me to wait, and then they will reply back to me whether I am on the register or not. So that's basically the process of applying for your NMC pin. There are other questions that I will go into detail about, the cost, how long you wait for, and things like that. There's questions coming up that people have sent in. That is basically how the process is in terms of applying for your NMC pin. So the next question that people also asked is, how much did you pay in order for you to join the NMC pin and be on the register? So when I initially applied to be on the register, I had to pay £120 in order for me to be on the register. So as soon as you apply and submit your application, no matter if you are accepted or not, just for you to send in and submit your application, you have to pay a fee of £120 for you to be on the NMC register. So that's the price for the NMC register, is £120. And the next question is, how long did it take for your NMC pin to come through? So it varies from person, it varies from what you have submitted in your application. So some people may wait a couple of hours and they basically approved and they become on the register. Some people wait a couple of weeks, some people wait for a couple of months. So when I applied for my NMC pin, I basically waited I think it was 5 working days. I applied for the pin on a weekend, and I didn't get a confirmation till during the week, like the work week. So I think it took about 4 days for them to then come back to me and confirm that I was on the register. So everyone is different depending on what you have submitted, what you have stated in your application. It will differ on the process. So it may take a couple of hours, it may take a day, it may take a couple of days, it may take a week or two, and it may also take a couple of months for you to be then accepted on the register. Okay, so the next question that I got is, what did you do when you were waiting for your NMC pin? So because the NMC pin may take some time, what I've been told by my colleagues, some of them, it took them a lot longer for them to get the NMC pin. So what they did was basically prepare for interviews or go for job interviews or apply for jobs. And some of them also did like a part-time job that they already had. They basically continued doing that job until they were confirmed on the NMC pin and were able to then start working as a qualified midwife. For me, when I was waiting for my pin, I basically, you know, applied for jobs. I started going to interviews. I started preparing for interviews, and I continued doing my side job that I was doing alongside university. I didn't stop that job until I had, you know, 100% secured a job. So I was still working as a healthcare assistant in my old job. So that's basically what you can do. You can either apply for jobs and wait for your NMC pin, or you can do another job like a healthcare assistant while you wait for your NMC pin to come through. So the next question is, did you take a break after you finished your degree course? And the answer to this is yes, I took a break, a much needed break. I took about 6 months break. Although I applied for my NMC pin straight after I qualified, and I applied for work straight after I qualified, I didn't actually start working until about 6 months after I finished my course. The 3 years of studying and, you know, training to be a midwife is a very big job, and it was very stressful, the most hardest 3 years that I've ever had to endure. So I decided to, you know, take a well-deserved break. So that's what basically I did. I took 6 months break. When I got accepted by the job that I applied for, I told them I needed 6 months before I started, and they were happy to accept that. Most jobs are not happy to accept that. They want you to start straight away, but just kind of be honest with them and be like, I can't start straight away. Can I take a few days off or a few weeks off? If they're happy with a few months off, then obviously ask that. Where I applied, they granted me to have 6 months break before I actually started. So that is the answer for that question. Yes, I did take a break. It was 6 months before I actually started working. So the next question that I get asked a lot is, how did I find the job that I went to when I qualified? So what I did was I basically went to the trust website, the trust that I wanted to work in. I went to their official page and I looked at their vacancies to see if they had any vacancies for newly qualified midwives before I looked anywhere else. And that's basically how I found my job. So other places that you can find jobs is going through the NHS website. So if you go through the NHS website, so you can basically filter through the job that you are looking for and the area that you want to look for. So you can put in band 5 midwife or newly qualified midwife or band 6 midwife, whatever it may be that you want to apply for. You can go and look for that job specifically through the NHS website directly, and you can also put the area that you're looking for and you can find a job there. But I found my job directly through the hospital website when they had vacancies available. So the next question that I get often is, did you get pushed into the deep end when you qualified and started working as a midwife? So the trust that I worked in accommodated for newly qualified midwife, those that are transitioning from student to qualified midwife. So it just basically varies from where you work. Some hospitals, they literally throw you into the deep end. Some hospitals will, you know, accommodate and basically help you transition from student to midwife. Where I trained, I was given that time to basically progress, and I was put under the preceptorship program, and I was given someone that I could, you know, talk to, like a mentor, someone that will look after my progress, someone that I can go to if I had any questions. And every shift that I worked in, I was basically supernumerary, so I was offered that support and I was not counted in the numbers. However, it may sound all great and, you know, all flowers where I trained, but it doesn't always, you know, work out that way. You don't always have the support when you are a qualified midwife. Sometimes you will turn up onto a shift and you are short-staffed and you basically have to be counted in numbers and you have to basically get on with things. So with my experience, I was always given the time to be supernumerary and had someone, you know, working with me and showing me the ropes and giving me, you know, pointers on what I should and shouldn't do. And on the other side, I also turned up on shifts where I didn't have that person to work alongside with me and I had to basically think on my own, and I was basically pushed in the deep end and I basically had to survive on my own. So it does vary depending on the trust, depending on the circumstance, depending on the staffing level, but they tend to accommodate for newly qualified midwives who are transitioning from student to midwife. So you will get that support if they are able to, and you tend to not be thrown in the deep end so early or so quickly. They kind of give you that support and that leeway to kind of transition and basically find your feet. So the next question is, when was your graduation? So my graduation, because I qualified in 2020, it was still during COVID. We were still in lockdown, so my graduation was actually cancelled. So everything was gone to the exam board and submitted, and my NMC email came through in September, and I was supposed to be graduating in November, but obviously due to the COVID restrictions and everything that was going on, they had to cancel. So my graduation actually happened a year after. So I was actually working and I was, you know, in the midst of being a qualified midwife when I actually graduated. I graduated a year after in the summer, and that could basically happen to you. You don't tend to graduate and then get your NMC Pin. You get your NMC Pin and you might even start working before you actually do your whole graduation ceremony. But like I said, every situation is different. My situation was due to COVID. Right now, you may graduate the time you're supposed to graduate, but it will be after you finish, and it will probably be once you're already working that you will have your graduation ceremony. Okay, so the next question is, how did you manage your money after you started getting paid? So managing my money is a big thing, because obviously I had big plans for my future. I wanted to have like a massive savings. As soon as I started, you know, making good money as a midwife, obviously midwives don't make amazing money, it was just good enough for me. As soon as I started making money, I started structuring my savings and my finances. So I managed my money to the best that I can. Everybody's situation is different, everybody manages their money differently, but for me, I started a savings pot. I started a savings pot in all the accounts that I had. I made sure that every time I got paid, I wasn't just spending. I made sure that most of my wages, or the money that I made, half of it, most of it, majority of it, went into my savings, and everything that I had left will go into like my social life. If I had any outfits to buy, if I went out for coffee, for a restaurant, anything else will be, you know, funded through my money that I left. But majority of my money literally went into savings so that I could basically better myself in the future. So I just basically managed my money by myself. I didn't have a money manager, I didn't have an accountant, I didn't have anyone kind of guiding me into how I manage my money. I just basically decided to start saving what I can so that I can do certain things in my life, like, you know, get married, buy a house, And that's basically how I manage my money. I just basically saved. I prioritized where I went. I prioritized who I, went out with, how I spent my money, if I went on holiday and things like that. Just my advice to this question is spend your money wisely and don't just blow it. As soon as you start making that midwifery money or that midwife money, make sure that you have a plan to where your money is going, rather than every time you get paid, it's basically all gone. So the next question that I got is, did I experience any new level of stress in terms of now that I'm working? So as a student midwife, the stress that you have going on is placement hours, meeting your births, assignments, exams. That is basically the stress that you have for the 3 years as a student midwife. After you qualify and start working as a qualified midwife, you have a whole new level of stress. But the stress is basically less than what it was when you were a student midwife, in my opinion, because obviously you don't have to worry about assignments, meeting deadlines, failing or not getting the grade that you want. Now you have a new level of stress, and the new level of stress is basically turning up to shifts and worrying or stressing that you'll be short on your shift. There'll be no support on your shift. You won't be a supernumerary. You won't have a mentor to fall back on. You'll be thrown in the deep end. You're trying to get your competency signed as a newly qualified midwife and no one is signing your book. So yes, you get a whole new level of stress, but I feel like the stress that you now get is less than the stress that you had as a student midwife. So the new level of stress that you get is a lot easier because you're getting paid at the end of the month, and you kind of, deal with it because you get yourself into a routine. You kind of manage the stress better. You find ways to manage the stress. You have your colleagues there to help you and things like that. But there is a new level of stress after you qualify and start working as a midwife. But it gets better over time after you start figuring out your stress levels, how to deal with it, your routine, and things that you can do to basically woosah and feel better. But yeah. So the next question that I got was completing your preceptor book easy? So in terms of preceptorship, being a preceptor, I have a whole video on that whole experience and what it's like to be a preceptor, a preceptee, being given a new book to complete new competencies. I have a whole video on that if you guys want to go check that out. But in terms of, was it hard completing my preceptor book and in terms of the new competencies that I now need to sign? It was, I wouldn't say it was easy and I wouldn't say it was hard. It was kind of in the middle. Most of the things that you need to get signed off is things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis on your shift. You just basically have to pull another midwife to observe you doing something and she signs your book off right there and then. Obviously, it all depends on the hospital that you're working in, and it all depends on your colleague, how nice they are in terms of signing your book off and things like that. But for me, I didn't find it that hard in terms of signing off my competencies. As a student midwife, it was so difficult signing off competencies because the mentor will literally sit there and test you and literally pick your brain, and she will be like, no, I don't like that answer. It was literally nerve-wracking because your whole life is depending on this one person signing a book. But as a qualified midwife, you now have a pin, you're now qualified, you're a midwife, you have your knowledge, you have your certificate. If they're not signing your book, they are going to train you so that they can sign your book. That's the only difference. If they don't sign your book, then they need to train you in that competency. Say for example, it's a cannulation competency and you're not able to cannulate. They then need to train you right there on the spot. Then you need to then do the cannulation and then they can sign off your book. So I think it's a lot easier in terms of getting your book signed as a preceptee midwife. But it all depends on your experience and where you work and the people you work around. So the next question is, does your social life get any better? In terms of my social life, when I was a student midwife, it was horrendous. I had no time for nobody. I had no time to travel. I had no time to go out every weekend and meet my friends. But as a qualified midwife post uni, my social life got a whole lot better, because all that I had to worry about was going to work and coming home. I had no assignments to do after I finished work. I had no exams to prepare for. I had no, kind of uni stress to kind of deal with. So your social life does get a lot better after university. You are able to, make more time for your friends, for your family. You are able to fly out and do the things that you couldn't do when you were a student midwife, because obviously now you have a paycheck, you have money coming in, so you can book that ticket to go to Greece, to go to Spain, wherever it may be. So your social life becomes a lot better. Also because your work life is a lot better. I work 3 days a week, so obviously I have those other 4 days off, and I'm basically enjoying my best life. I don't have to, on my days off, I don't have to revise for no exams or be in the library doing assignments. I have that free time to do as I wish. So your social life does get a lot better after university. Okay, so the next question that I got is, are you able to do overtime or back shifts after you're qualified after university? So yes, the answer to this is yes. As a qualified midwife after university, you're able to do more. You're able to put in that overtime. You're able to pick up extra bank shifts and make more money. When I was under the preceptorship program, I didn't do any bank shifts because I had to be a band 6 in order for me to start applying and doing bank work. When I reached that 12 months mark, I applied for those bank shifts and I did those extra shifts so that I can make extra money. So yeah, I did like extra 1 back shift a week or 2 back shifts a week if I really was saving up to something. When I was planning for my wedding and when I was planning for my house, I definitely did those back shifts, and I definitely earned a lot more money doing those extra hours, extra bank shifts, and it helped with like my wedding and my house buying process. So yes, you're able to do bank shifts and do overtime as you wish. Overtime meaning obviously extra shifts as in bank shifts or picking up extra shifts where possible. Okay, so this next question is about politics. Are there any work politics after you qualify and become a midwife? So the answer to this question is yes. Wherever you work, there will be work politics. Whether you work in a computer industry or the IT industry, whether you work in an office, whether you work in a hospital, whether you work in a GP surgery, wherever you work, there will be politics, or there will be issues that may arise between your colleagues and the people that you work with. Within the NHS and where I work, obviously there are politics. The NHS, there's plenty of politics. Politics tend to start from the lack of staff, the lack of equipment, and obviously the pay that we receive. Politics start from there, and obviously they work their way through the staff and your colleagues, and everyone is on edge, and it starts little politics here and there. People form groups, people start bickering, people start, yeah, there's basically politics wherever you work, and I've seen politics where I work. I tend to not get myself involved. Every time I see politics, I'm just like, yeah, not involved. I'm here to work, go home, make my money. The only advice that I'll give you is don't get yourself involved. Go do your job and go home and live a peaceful life. Do not get yourself involved in the politics. So the next question is, did I regret doing the midwifery degree course? I don't regret doing the degree course. I feel like the degree course was something that I wanted to do for a very long time. If you guys have seen my previous videos, midwifery was literally my dream, my goal, and what I wanted to do. I didn't expect for it to be so hard, so difficult, and so stressful, but I don't regret the whole process. I don't regret, you know, what I have learned, what it has taught me, what I went through. The whole degree itself, I don't, you know, regret doing it. It has opened a lot of doors for me. It has allowed me to make a good income to be able to support myself, to be able to get married and, you know, do the wedding that I imagined. It has allowed me to buy a house. It has allowed me to do a lot of things, you know, like travel and things like that. So I don't regret doing my degree. It has basically helped me better myself, and I would do it again. If I was in another lifetime, I would do the same degree course. So yeah, I do not regret it at all. So the next question that I got is, will you be going back to uni to study something else? If you had asked me this question straight after I qualified, I would have said hell to the no. I'm not going back to university for nobody, okay? I don't want to go back through that stress of assignments, exams, placement and all of that. But, you know, thinking about it now, would I go back to university? I could possibly go back to university only to better myself and to get more experience and to get a better qualification to progress in my midwifery world or as a midwife. I wouldn't go back to university to do a different course completely different to midwifery. I would only go back to university to do something to better myself as a midwife, so that I can reach those higher bands and become a band 7 or become a band 8. Only for those reasons. I wouldn't go back to university to study something completely different. But yes, I have been thinking about going back to university. I am not 100% there because I'm still thinking about all the stress that comes with being a student, but I have considered it recently in the past couple of months, but it's something that I don't think I'll be doing anytime soon. Okay, so the next question that I got is, how long did it take you to get a job after you qualified? So after qualifying, the best thing about being a midwife, a student midwife, is you are offered a job where you trained most of the time. So most of the time as a student midwife where you trained, the trust that trained you tend to want to keep you after you finish your degree course. So they basically offer you the job. All you have to do is basically come to an interview and speak to them, complete their exam processes and all of that, but they are more than willing to offer you a job. So I was offered a job where I trained, but like I said, it was too far from me, and then I decided to apply for somewhere that was close by. So for me, and in terms of my experience in finding a job, it happened quite quickly. Like I said, I was offered a job where I trained, and when I applied to the new hospital, I basically got the offer straight away. So in terms of being a student midwife here in the UK, you are able to get a job quite quickly after completing your midwifery course. If you just apply, they are looking for midwives. It's kind of a quick process. You apply, they offer you an interview, you do the exam. As long as you pass everything, you can get a job quite quickly. Okay, so the last and final question for this video is, what are your goals now that you are a qualified midwife? So I've had a lot of goals for the past couple of years being qualified. So I qualified in the year 2020. It's now 2023, and I've been thinking about my career progression and where I see myself in the next coming years. I see myself going up a band. I don't see myself working clinical for the rest of my life. I don't see myself on the wards for the rest of my life. Although I have enjoyed it, I have thrived, I have learnt a lot on the wards. I don't know if you guys know, but I am an antenatal and postnatal midwife. But I don't see myself working clinically for the rest of my life. So I see myself progressing first to a band 7, specializing in a certain area, and then obviously progressing should I wish to progress. But I see myself applying for a band 7 post in the next 2 years or so, and the speciality that I tend to want to go to is in the education department. So I want to be working with student midwives who are out on placement. I see that for myself. I don't see myself being a manager of the ward or managing a department, or no, that is not for me. I see myself supporting student midwives who are out on placement and working with the education team, either with student midwives or newly qualified midwives as a band 7. So that's basically where I see myself in the near future. So that is it for today's video. I hope I have answered all of you guys' questions. If you guys have further questions, please make sure to drop them below in the comment section below. I am more than happy to do either a part 2 or answer your questions directly in the comment sections. But yeah, I've enjoyed filming this video. It's been a long time coming. I've missed this. I've missed sitting down and filming content for you guys in terms of midwifery related videos. But yeah, I'll catch you guys very soon in my next video. Hoping you guys have subscribed to the channel, like this video, and I'll see you guys very soon. And I think there's someone here that wants to say hello. Dior, do you want to say hello to the people then? Come, say hello to the people. So this is Dior, my Pouchon puppy. She is 6 months this week, isn't it? No kisses. We get makeup on you. So yeah, this is Dior. And she says bye, and she says subscribe to the channel, like mommy's videos, and she says come back in the next video when we next post. Yes? Yeah, she agrees. Okay guys, I'll see you guys in my next video.